If you've tried every self-help method imaginable, books, videos, affirmations, but still can't find lasting confidence, only two explanations remain. Either you're irreparably broken, and spoiler alert, you're absolutely not, or you've been trying to fix the wrong problem the entire time. I went from crippling social anxiety to effortlessly connecting with industry leaders in the tech and finance world because I learned exactly what the real issue was. I've since helped hundreds of people who've survived difficult childhoods that shaped their sense of self to finally shed their anxiety, feel deeply worthy, and find their natural assertiveness. What unlocked real confidence wasn't affirmations or positivity, it was a simple but profound mindset shift. Today, I'll show you exactly what that shift is using two examples from recent clients and how it changed their lives permanently. So the first client, let's call him Lucas, managed to drop his imposter syndrome in weeks and developed an ability to not be rattled by other people's toxic BS. Now, Lucas came to me because he felt overwhelming workplace anxiety and imposter syndrome. His boss had hired him without any prior industry experience, despite the role requiring a couple of years of experience. So Lucas believed that they took a chance on him. And once he was hired, another supervisor constantly belittled him and talked down to him, making his imposter syndrome skyrocket. And on top of that, Lucas grew up in an extremely strict and unforgiving household where nothing was ever good enough. So this created a shame that he carried throughout life and got especially aggravated during this experience. Lucas, like many introverts I see, immediately assumed that he needed to fix his lack of confidence and prove himself worthy. He practiced all the typical self-help tactics, affirmations, journaling all his accomplishments and abilities, and that soothed him momentarily, but it never really lasted. So what I did was I challenged his fundamental assumption. I said, think about it. Why would your experienced boss, who doesn't know you personally, hire you at a full salary in an unforgiving industry if you were truly unqualified? Could it be that during the interview he genuinely saw talent and skill, not because he took a chance on you? Now Lucas, he had never considered this. People were trying to soothe him and tell him that he's intelligent and he's competent and he will do fine. But he had never considered that perhaps he had completely misread the entire situation by thinking that they took a chance on me, so I need to prove my worth. Once he realized that he didn't actually know how his boss perceived him, a huge pressure lifted. I didn't need to convince him that he was capable. I just needed to show him a completely unbiased analysis of the situation, which made him deeply realize one thing: that he didn't know. And this realization had a profound impact on his shame. Because like I talked about in my video on shame is an intuition that doesn't speak the language of logic and positive affirmations. It needs experience to change. And when I showed Lucas how he misinterpreted why his boss even hired him, it made him realize that he doesn't actually know how to read people. And this allowed his intuition to be open to change. Because intuition puts its guard up if you try to convince it of something. But when you go, I don't know, you become neutral. You're not wired to search for the good or the bad in any situation. And this leads you to almost instantly start seeing people and situations differently. And this is the most amazing quality of deep thinking introverts that struggle with social anxiety that nobody really talks about. We actually have the profound gifts of hyper-awareness and introspection that is extremely hard to find. And once you give those gifts a perspective that makes sense, they will effortlessly grab it, internalize it, and apply it to all parts of your life with ease. And this is when the shift happens. And because of this shift, Lucas dropped this belief that his boss took a chance on him and could easily recognize the toxic supervisor for who he was, not as some authority speaking truth about his abilities, but as someone behaving destructively towards the whole team. Lucas didn't become confident because I convinced him of his worth. Instead, he became confident because we reset his intuition by first honestly acknowledging that because of his anxiety, he simply didn't know how to read people accurately. And that realization allowed him to clearly see his own worth and spot toxic people around him instead of think that they have a point, transforming how he even navigated his career. Now, soon after, Lucas had reached out to me to let me know that his boss had hired someone with technically more experience, but with significantly lower pay than himself. And he realized that they never took a chance on him. They saw his worth, and now he could see it as well. Now, the second client is Nia, who recognized her worth within weeks and managed to get a 50% increase in her income as a result. Nia worked in a highly technical industry that's male-dominated. And she came to me because she wanted to move forward in her career, but she felt small and was struggling with her anxiety. Now, something was happening at her workplace that kept weighing her down and making her feel so disrespected. Her higher-ups would continuously cut her off when she's speaking. As an introvert who came from an abusive and dismissive household, this triggered her big time. So she believed that she should speak louder and be more assertive, but it felt forced and unnatural. She also did tons of affirmations and journaling to make herself aware that she's more capable than she gives herself credit for. But none of it was getting through, and she still felt so much anxiety. So I asked her, these higher-ups who interrupt you, are they micromanaging you? Do they take away your autonomy or make decisions for you? And she said, no. So I said, okay, so you still get to do whatever you want and have full control over your responsibilities, but you feel like they're disrespecting you because they cut you off. What if the real problem is that they just have a bad habit of cutting you off and have no idea that they're doing it? Because, look, if they were forcing their ideas on you, then I'd see your point that you are definitely being disrespected. But I don't seem to be picking up the same thing. Now, Nia kept silent. She realized that she had never saw it that way. All her life, growing up, she was made to feel small and unimportant. And so she could only see this situation as something that was targeted towards her. So I told her that the problem isn't that you're not loud enough or forceful enough. It's the fact that you have no idea how to read people because of the shame and anxieties that you carry. In fact, trying to be forceful or loud actually harms the gifts of your gentle sensitivity, empathy, and the perception that you have. Now, this was a revelation for Nia, and she immediately picked it up and embraced it. That her ability to read people was broken, and all her years of efforts of trying to be loud were dampening her innate strengths. And once she recognized this, she felt like a weight lifted off of her shoulders immediately. I still have the message that I got once she had this huge realization. Let me get it out and read it for you guys. Asha, I can't believe it. I've just been holding defensive mode for all my life. I assumed people would disrespect me and misunderstand me. And maybe that belief served me as a kid, but I can't imagine how many times it's held me back in adulthood. How defensive I must have come off to people who maybe just had bad speaking habits or were simply unhealthy in their own way, that I could have brought it up to them instead of take it personally. I thought I needed to tone down my sensitivity and perceptiveness, but those are my very strengths that made me who I am today. I never thought about leaning into them. Nia got it, and she went to a place of I don't know. So together, I went through with her all the different experiences in her life and taught her how to see them differently, without any bias. I tapped into her ability to spot the small details in people, and she naturally picked up all the unique communication habits of the people around her. Because of her gifts, she could naturally shift how she speaks depending on who she was talking to. And because she was no longer coming from a place of defensiveness, people were actually receptive. She found her natural assertiveness without ever needing to be loud or be an extrovert. Now, if you want to know the communication habits that she implemented that immediately made people more receptive to her, I'll link it right up here once I've posted it. Nia realized that she had misread so many people and situations and made herself much smaller than she actually was. Months after working together, she had reached out to me to let me know that she got a new job with a 50% increase in her salary. Not from upskilling or anything like that, but because she had recognized deeply that she had so much more to offer than she had ever given herself credit for. Lucas and Nia all spent years unsuccessfully tackling insecurities, anxieties, and shame with affirmations and logic. Yet the real radical shift happened when they admitted the deep truth. I don't know. And recognized that they had strengths that nobody ever showed them how to tap into. By honestly accepting that they had misread themselves and others, they allowed their intuition, which absolutely can't stand being forced positivity, to finally relax and be open. And then they used their gifts to actually observe people and learn. They naturally identified genuine respect, actual toxic behavior, and true worth. So if you've tried everything, from affirmations to conventional self-help, and still struggle with social anxiety, self-doubt, or feeling like an imposter, your intuition likely needs something else entirely. Not forced positivity, just a permission to reset, to deeply acknowledge, I don't know, and allow yourself to tap into your natural gifts. Release your assumptions that people think you're incapable, weak, slow, incompetent. Let all of that go. You have to start from scratch in reading those around you. That's how authentic clarity emerges. And that's how genuine assertiveness, confidence, and accurate self-perception naturally blooms. So if you're ready to see yourself and others clearly and with no bias, and finally shed the anxiety and shame, I help introverts exactly like you to overcome social anxiety and self-doubt, unlock your natural assertiveness, and step into a life far bigger and more vibrant than your anxiety has ever let you imagine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you in the next one.